connecting. We are perfectly on time, I'd say. Connecting. Yeah, so good to go. So welcome back.
We're here.
Mike, we're here. Whoop, whoop. Tiffany is writing. Yeah. So we just wait a few seconds for everybody to join. Yeah, Batman, yeah. So as we had a lot of thoughts about unconscious bias, I think you will give us a deep look on how to remove any hint of bias. So the stage is yours.
Yes, fantastic. It looks like we've had the big rush of folks coming in, so I'll get started in like 10 seconds because I'm from New York and we like to do things just a little bit later than most other people. So, hey, everybody, welcome. Glad to see you, unless I don't see you, and then I'm still glad that you're here. Feel free, guys, to interact with me in the chat. I have it up. If you see me glancing up, that's where I'm looking. I'm not just staring at my ceiling. Really, really important to note about this presentation. This is an idea presentation. This will hopefully spur conversation and ideas. This is not a perfect solution to a problem yet. I'm working on it. I'm trying to operationalize this with the help of Tor and Ellis and others. So give it some time, but I want this to be a conversation and something where we're all able to come together and discuss things that do and don't work and potential solutions. Here's mine. So first, super important to know, who the heck am I? I am Mike. People call me Batman. I'm pretty cool with it. I run Wayne Technologies. We are a company of sourcing subject matter experts, or dare I say, heroes. I am a conference speaker. I absolutely love it. I try to speak at 15 to 20 conferences a year. I love training. I love helping other people, and I like being the center of attention. And to the end of being center of attention, I am an indoor cycling instructor. I don't actually love cycling, which is kind of weird, but I do love being the center of attention, telling people what to do and making them listen to my electronic and hip hop, hence cycling. I also am a big believer of pushing my limits and the limits of those around me. The examples I'm showing here, in 2017, I ran the New York Marathon, and in 2018, I did a half Ironman. If you've ever seen me in person, your response to that would be to look at my toes and then up to my head and go, oh, cool. Yeah, I get it. I was not built for long distance, but I wanted to see if I could do it. That was what mattered to me, is can I push beyond what I think I can do and do something different and amazing? And here is exactly where this presentation is rooted. Can we get beyond what we believe to be our limit and do something truly exceptional? I am also a GIF and meme aficionado. If you do not like GIFs and memes, I believe the red button, or the little arrow button on the top left, is what gets you out of this presentation. Please don't leave, for real. I am also a dog lover. Those are my dogs, Blue and Honey. I love them more than 99.9% of any humans I've ever met in this world. And that is my amazing wife. I am truly a blessed husband. I talk about her more than any other subject in the world besides recruiting. She is truly, truly an amazing human, works at Mercer HR, and has just been my major support system, and also the inspiration for this entire movement that I have, or I'm trying to start. Lastly, I'm a firm believer in being flawsome, which is to say that we're all totally flawed and we're all totally awesome. Those two are not mutually exclusive. Let's embrace the fact that we're all a little messed up. Let's love each other, not otherwise, but let's love each other because of it. So let's get into this agenda for the day, guys. The bold items are the things that we're going to spend the most time on. I have 50 minutes worth of information that I'm going to try my best to cram into 30 minutes worth of stuff. So if I sound like I'm flying, I am. I had a really hard time paring this presentation down. Guys, interrupt me, ask questions. Don't put it in the Q&A, put it in the chat section. I'm watching it on the other screen. Let's make this a conversation, not me preaching at you for 30 minutes, which I'm also fine to do, but it'd be way, way better if we interacted a little bit. So guys, let's talk about the purpose of an interview. There are two purposes for an interview. I know it sounds weird if you're thinking, well, it's to fill a job. Yeah, duh, right? Yeah, we get that. But what's the actual purpose, like the meaning behind the interview? And what I mean by that is, are we interviewing for a tactical type of position? Meaning, are we looking for a problem to a business solution? And here's kind of how I tend to think about this. Tactically, you're hiring for another person to add to the team so that way you can increase your scale by X plus 1, right? Or your output by X plus 1. You have 5 people, you want to hire a 6th person. Great. Your output now is 5 plus 1. That's your 6, right? And it's great. That's awesome. We need to hire somebody, get them in here. We need to increase our productivity by X percentage. That's cool. However, here's what I like to think of when I'm going through this process is, can we create a synergistic purpose behind an interview? Can we create synergy behind the reason why we want to hire somebody? And if we don't know this word synergy, the best way I can use to describe this is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The whole, W-H-O-L-E, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And here's the deal, guys. As opposed to all of us trying to solve a problem, right? When we look at tactical, solving a problem because we're heading in the same direction together, pushing with more force and more force and more force, you're gonna push forward to that solution. But what if instead we all pushed from a different direction, heading to the same goal? Wouldn't our solution be stronger? Wouldn't our solution be more well-rounded? And the idea of this synergy approach is to not look at X plus 1, right? X plus 1, X plus 1, X plus 1. Every time you hire somebody, you add by a number of 1. What if instead you were able to work on the function of 1 plus 1 equaling 3? Because yes, you're adding another person, but that person is adding a new paradigm to your problem solving. That person is adding a new way of going about doing what you do. So that way they're not just getting to the solution, they're empowering others to get to the solution faster, better, differently. That's this idea behind synergistic hiring. So we're going to talk about culture fit versus ad. We've all heard about culture fit, culture ad. Guys, here's the deal. Stop saying that shit. You want to know the easiest way to stop dealing with culture fit and culture ads? Stop talking about it. If you ever saw that interview with Morgan Freeman, it was like 10 years ago, and somebody in 60 Minutes asked him, hey, how do we stop dealing with racism? How do we get past that? And Morgan Freeman said, stop talking about it. I'm not, whoop. Apparently my screen decided that sharing was no longer an option, which is cool. Let's try it again. All right, cool. Hopefully you guys see my screen. Morgan Freeman said, let's stop talking about it. Right? Not let's stop talking about solutions, but let's stop talking about people as black or white or old or young or men or women. Let's just be people. And that's what I want to do. Let's stop talking about culture. Let's instead talk about synergy. We don't have corporate culture. We have corporate synergy. You're not going to join our culture. You're going to join the synergy that is our company. You being a part of this company will make us a better company, not a larger company. And so instead of culture fit and instead of culture ad, I want us to look at this as a mirror and a window. Take that for a second, a mirror and a window. Why do we look at one versus the other? When we're looking into a mirror, we want to see a reflection of what already exists. When you hire for a mirror hire, you are saying, I already have exactly what I want, and I don't want a thing to change. I just want more output. Well, that's a mirror. You just want a reflection of what exists already versus you want a window. You're not looking through a window to see what's already inside. You're looking at a window to see what exists beyond the structure that you already sit in. You're looking through that window to see what could be, where could you go, and how can I get there? That is the type of hire we want. I don't give a shit about culture or culture fit or culture add. I care about where am I now? Do I want more of the same shit I've been getting? In which case, if that's the case, stop listening to my talk right now. You're doing it perfectly. Or do I want to hire and achieve something greater than where I am right now? And if that's the case, we need to look at our interviews through a window, not a mirror. What do I mean? If we're hiring for that mirror hire, right? Our company, we want to preserve the community. We want to make sure that what we've previously assigned as culture remains unchanged. We want to focus on where we are right now, building on what we already have, right? We want to scale the thing that we have. We want to make the thing that we have bigger. And in order to hire for that, we want to confirm that they're the right fit. A window is going to be different. We don't want to preserve what we currently have because what got us here today is not going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. We need to create change. And here's a different way of saying change. We need to create conflict. The greatest piece, the greatest element, the greatest foundation that exists in any great story, fictional or real, is conflict. It is a unifying force and it enables change. Let's do that and look at the future. Right? Let's not look at what we already have. Let's look at what we could have, what we don't have. And instead of trying to confirm why this person is or is not going to be the right person to hire, let's instead look at what can we learn from this person and what can they learn from us. So let's look at what people are doing now. And let's look at why this doesn't work. If you've seen my post-COVID chat, you already know how I feel about video and interviews, right? And video calls. They are exhausting. If you don't believe it, there's a scientific journal article telling you science, psychology. This is not me. It's not some recruiter posting some crap on Yesware. This is a scientific journal article talking about how video interviews are more draining than in person, right? Here's another scientific journal article. I quoted it on the bottom left. I didn't want you to think I'm making this shit up myself. Candidates have a harder time interviewing. Hiring managers have a harder time interviewing. And the entire selection process gets put at risk. It gets tarnished. It gets tainted because of this technology. Here is an actual diagram from that journal article that I read. Guys, if I'm being totally honest, I just paid for the ability to read it online. It was like $200 to download it. Otherwise, I'd share it with you, but like, there's no way. But you can read this really quick. Look at all of the problems in the settings. Look at all this. These are all issues that had a direct impact on the perception the hiring manager, or in this case, the interviewer, had of the interviewee. That's a lot of check marks, guys. Look at the percentages as they exist here. If you tell me that it's really important that we video interview, we want to see who they are, I'm going to tell you it's not. It's hurting you more than it's helping you. So what is the bias, right? If you look at this, This bias is based around a few different things. One is what we believe, one is what we think or assume, and the other is what we see. So, scientific journal article again here talks about the difference between images and words. Do you know how much better we are remembering images? Do you know how big of a problem that is while interviewing someone? I can still tell you what people are wearing color-wise that I've seen so far present, and I can't tell you the title of their talk. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not biased. I'm not intentionally. But that's how your brain works. And if your brain constantly is focusing on remembering images instead of words, that's going to lead to a problem. Scientific journal article. This one I downloaded and paid for. Guys, this is horrifying. This is painful. This hurts to read. A dichotomy of attractiveness as it comes to face-to-face interviews and getting the job. If that doesn't hurt, then again, you must be doing everything perfect and God bless you. You're not. So, if image is what we remember the most, how are we avoiding that? How do we deal with that? How do we approach this idea of interviewing? Yeah, perfect. That's the solution right there. Nailed it. Done. Just wear a paper bag from now on. It'll be great. Also, you probably got to wear some gloves. All need to wear platforms, so we're the exact same height. Batman masks. Yeah, if that's your jam. Organize, go for it. Please don't, actually. So this idea of blind hiring, it's the idea to remove information like name, gender, religion, right? You're reading this on the page. And the goal is to make this generic enough in terms of the data presented that the human has the ability to shine, that you're hiring the person, not the assumptions you're making from the data you're reading. So here's a great point, and this leads into what I was just mentioning about this idea of images and words. If you look up blind hiring and what's existed before this, it's the reason I didn't call this blind hiring. I call this blind candidacy. Why? Because blind hiring was this idea of removing all this information from the resume, right? Totally not dumbing it down, but removing any identifying marks to make it so when hiring managers would read the resume, they could say, oh, okay, cool. I'm not judging this person because they went to this school or they worked at this company or, their name is this long or hard to pronounce or whatever BS people tell themselves. But here's the problem with that. It's like they do a friggin' face-to-face interview. They're going to know what you look like. So how does this help? Yay, it gets them past the first round of interviews. I didn't know that blind hiring was about getting to a face-to-face interview. I thought it was about diversifying your workforce. I thought it was about onboarding people who will expand your synergistic capabilities, who will give you unique ways of growing and solving your business problems. So that doesn't work. So what's blind candidacy? This is going to seem really radical. And I'm telling you, it is, because that's what we need. The same thing that got you here today will not get you to where you need to be tomorrow. So what is this? How does it work? This came about from a racial discrimination case, right? If you read this, there's the article on the left that kind of cites it. This was one specific example, and it's one of the earliest examples that people found of this idea of blind auditions. If you want a more modern example, look at The Voice. It's a great example, a great show, severely missing Adam Levine, but whatever, it's a great show still. I don't know about having Gwen and Blake on it's not important. What's important is that blind hiring does increase the diversity, physically not seeing. When I say blind, I don't mean that idea of blind hiring, scrubbing a resume. I mean physically blind, visually not seeing someone. Check that out. Another fact, another citation. You can read it. I don't have to read it to you. Now, there were some flaws of this original blind hiring process, right? The hindering diversity piece. So if you're actually scrubbing all that data that we talked about off of the profiles, you can't identify diverse candidates anymore. That's one. Hiring for, ready? Culture fit. Such crap, because of the data that we hide on profiles could actually lead to either more of that fit versus ad or whatever BS phraseology people want to use now. It's the mirror and the window. How are we supporting each? What data are we providing that supports or detracts from our ability to assess that? And this is a study that says anonymizing the resumes hurts diversity. So these are three real studies and examples that were done about the old way of doing this blind hiring. So how do we get around these? How do we actually anonymize the process without hurting the diversity? That's a really great question. Step number one, this is going to sound ridiculous. No more resumes. Zero. None. Hiring managers and teams do not get resumes anymore. Instead, at the sourcing stage, the top of the funnel, you're going to approach this in one of two ways. BTD, bias towards diversity, or open sourcing, meaning you don't care about the diversity or not. You just want to hire a butt in a seat. Normally, it's going to be your tactical type of hiring, right? Your mirror hiring. Next, when you're submitting the candidates, instead of having a formal resume that has all of that data on it, we're going to provide the only thing that matters on a resume: the bullet points under each of the jobs. Where they did it doesn't matter. How long they were there doesn't matter. How many jobs they've had doesn't matter. Where they live, I guess that kind of matters. Depends on if you're open to remote, obviously. Where they went to school doesn't matter. If they need a degree for your job, first off, you better be hiring STEM candidates. Otherwise, cut that shit out right now. I didn't get a degree until 5 years ago, and I seem to be doing pretty okay. So there's that. Second, if a degree isn't required, don't share that data. It doesn't matter, right? It's not a requirement. Remove the name, remove the email address, remove all the company names. You are only sharing those bullet points. And now here's an interesting one. For the interview process, the recruiter or sourcer has to tell the candidate, hey, we're going to address you by your initials through this process. I know that sounds really weird, but we don't just say that we are focused on D&I. We're actually doing it. And here's the way that we're going to do it. We're going to eliminate any bias we can. And so please, when you introduce yourself, please just use your initials. All of the team and the hiring managers know this process already. It's not going to feel weird, except for the first 30 seconds. Okay. And then we're going to stop visual interviews. Yeah, that's it. There's no craziness here. Do not video interview. Do not face-to-face interview. You don't need to. And right now, I know a bunch of us are going, oh, I don't know about that. What got you here today will not get you to where you want to be tomorrow. You don't need to see someone to hire them. They are not serving you a purpose except to bias for or against someone. What if TA decides which candidates come in to meet the hiring team and the hiring team gets the resume moments before? How about if they don't come in to meet the team? It's not necessary. No face-to-face interviews at all. They don't matter. They don't matter. There's nothing that you will get from a face-to-face interview that should affect your decisions. And the greatest example I had is talking to somebody about this in a webinar. And somebody said, Utkarsh, here's the deal. There is no reasonable way to eliminate the voice. And the reason I say that is studies are actually done showing that the inflection and the way we communicate with passion and energy can oftentimes lead to connections being made between people, which you'll see in a minute. So you can't put them through like a modulator or a voice changer. It just doesn't work. Correct, Garrick. Being a human, not a robot. I want to be a human. Being a human shouldn't matter what I look like or how long my hair is or if I haven't shaved or if I wear t-shirts and shorts, right? Like that's not who I am. That's not what makes me a human. What makes me a human is my heart, my brain. None of that is reflected by what I wear or what I look like. And so, Brett, to answer your question, don't have people come in for a face-to-face interview. Just literally don't do it. You don't need to see somebody. Next, this should be pretty straightforward. I can't believe I actually have to say this, but like ask the same questions every time. And here's the deal, record all of your interviews so that the data isn't coming from a sense of feeling. Right? We've all had hiring managers. No, I don't think they're going to be the right fit. Oh, F you. What does that even mean? Right? What questions did you ask? Let me hear the answers. Let the team hear the answers. Record it so it becomes data, not feelings. Next, you need 2 rubrics. I'm tired of people saying, well, how'd they do on their rubric? If you only have 1 rubric, it means you're only addressing their skills. And if you're only addressing their skills, stop saying that D&I is important to you. You need 2 skills, sure, and you need that mirror versus window rubric. How much of their personality or communication fits in terms of the way that we currently communicate? How much of what they bring to the table is going to be a little bit different, a little bit maybe harder to swallow? Those are the things that we really need to try and understand. And there's ways to do this tangibly, right? They rubbed us the wrong way. What'd they rub you the wrong way about? That's great. That's great. Yep. I see you. I know 5 minutes. I'm going to do my absolute best. But there has to be a tangible rubric for this. It cannot be something based on the feeling of how they will fit or not. And the final step, this is going to blow your minds, guys. For the last round of interview, play a game. Play a game. Wim, what do I mean by a rubric? I mean, did they have the C# or development skills? Okay, cool. So the 3 questions under that are, what did they develop, right? And how long have they been coding and what languages have they worked with? Boom, that's that skill. You do that for a couple of skills, then you do that on their mirror versus window. Did they say anything that rubbed you the wrong way? What was it about? Have they ever worked in an environment similar to ours? What was their experience? What did they contribute? What about their background is a concern that it won't line up? That is an opportunity, not a threat. And actually understanding that piece. Ian, is there any data on possible implications on acceptance rates from candidates or candidates withdrawing from the process? I do not have any, but that's a great point. So guys, this final step, ready for this? Play a card game, virtual, no video. The recruiter and whoever else, team members, can be silent observers. And here's what you're going to do. Hiring manager, someone from their team, and someone that the candidate picks from a list of people at the company that's provided to them. And they're going to play something like hearts or spades or euchre or some card game. And they're going to play the first game on the same team as their hiring manager. They're going to play the second game on the opposite team against their hiring manager. Doesn't matter if you win. It doesn't matter if you lose. The goal is, can you get comfortable enough to see, are they competitive? How do they communicate in a situation where you're working with somebody new? How do they communicate in a situation where they're with their hiring manager versus against? Are they a wallflower? Are they a leader? Do they strategize or do they follow other people's lead in terms of how they're going to approach the game? How do they handle winning and how do they handle loss? And what you're going to do is follow up with them afterwards again. Yeah, Ryzen, you're totally right. This would require major organizational buy-in. But if you don't think that achieving unbiased interviewing will, then we're probably doing it wrong. So, Sneha, how do we ensure authenticity? Yeah, that's a really great point. There's a couple of ways around this. So ready for this? Common pushback. Number one, I hear this all the time. Well, the most important thing is how somebody presents. What if they don't present well? First off, if you're interviewing a salesperson who's been doing sales for 5 years, they present well enough. They've been doing sales for 5 years. You don't need to worry about what they're wearing or whether they've shaved. They've been doing this long enough. They get it. Also, if they're not shaving, that's a great way to give some great feedback and growth opportunities. Sophie and Sneha, could this be subject to fraud? That's a great point that you bring up. I'm going to talk about that at the end. So, could this be used to build professional relationships? People always say, like, well, if I don't see them, how do you build a good relationship? Seeing somebody's a really important part of building a relationship. Really? Bullshit. Because here's a bunch of articles on building relationships, and 0 of them mention eye contact or seeing each other in person. 0. That is a made-up thing in our head because we think it's important. It is not important. We do not need to see the other person to build a relationship. And this is the big one is, well, it's a big utopia to believe that I don't have to see anybody to hire them, right? That's what somebody told me in a clubhouse. You must be living in some type of utopia. Really? Because I posted this here on LinkedIn, and I want you to know that this actually got up to 980 something votes. And wouldn't you know that it got up to like 47% of people said yes. Said yes, 47%. So it's not a utopia. People are doing this. You can read this. At the end of the day, skip Zoom, call people. You don't need to be face to face. So one of the pieces of pushback is, well, how do we know that they're not having somebody else take the interview for them? You don't. And at the end of the day, if you're going to start your process not trusting your candidates, then don't talk to me about DEI. Right? But if you don't trust that your candidates are going to be authentic, then don't worry about DEI. You have to come from a place of trust. And here's the other one. Ready? When they start, you're going to know when you hear them talk, and you can bring that up pretty quick. So here's the summary here, and I always end with a personal story. So my wife, Crystal, who I told you I'm absolutely in love with, I am her biggest fan in the world. She's the most interesting person I've ever met. She struggled with discrimination. She looks very young. She actually turns 40 tomorrow. Don't tell her I shared that. But she looks young. And on every time she sat in an executive seat or a board seat, I've heard the calls. I've heard them literally say, like, hey, Crystal, why don't you calm down a little? Right? Hey, Crystal, I don't think we need to come with that type of an attitude. Meanwhile, guys can yell and scream and everything. And so she's really jaded. She doesn't know what to do. How do you approach just looking young? Right? God bless. What a great thing the other 90% of the time. But interviewing people felt hesitant. And so she wanted to reach out to companies who had a really strong D&I culture, something they embraced. And one of the places that she really wanted to work at was Mercer. So she applied for a principal level role, and she interviewed with them. And wouldn't you know, guys, she got the job. And not only did she get the job, they never video interviewed her or saw her face to face. This was before COVID, guys. They were practicing this before COVID. And if you're thinking, well, she's not in sales. Yeah, she is. She has over 5 or 6 enterprise client meetings, video meetings every single week. It's just not important. Be the bigger person in this case. Step away from those feelings of fear that exist around what if they're not the right person? What if we can live in a world of what ifs, where we can be the first people, the pioneers, to take a step out and say, you know what? We actually tried something different, and maybe it fails. Maybe this all blows up. But you know what? you will have taken a step that others didn't, and you will be that force for change.
Wow, great.
So if anybody has any questions, I'm here. I'll be around. You can reach me all day, and let me know. Let me know whatever I can do to help, guys.
I guess everyone is going with you and just asks how it is possible, not whatever anymore, just how we can do it.
Yeah, and the bottom line is there's no answer. This is a book that hasn't been written yet. We're writing it every day with every conversation. But let's be the first people to stop writing and start doing. Let's be the people to fail and learn and grow. And that's what creating this process is about. And that's what operationalizing this for me is all about.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thanks.
I guess we have a lot of work to do. Well, in Germany, I can only speak for Germany, but yeah, this is great. I will definitely speak with my clients about that. So thank you very much for your inspirational speech.
Thanks.
I really
Thank you so
loved
much,
it,
guys.
and I think the whole crowd did too. So yeah, let's have a chat with Batman at one of our tables. I will end this session now to open another session with Morgan. So hope to see you there. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.